And on the state of the nation, we focus on who will be the majority and who will be the minority as the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Masika Wetangula, then will be facing this litmus test amongst other matters. Also, we'll be taking a look at the education sector just a week after we had our students going back to school. Just how well braced are they to face the term as parents continue to cry foul as to the difficult times, and also President William Ruto setting up a task force team that is set to address the question of the competency-based curriculum, just to delve deep into understanding it and see whether then as a country we should proceed with it or not, and also talks on the fuel subsidy or the fuel tough times in the country and so many other things, including this most of it, well, one would want to call it a relief, but then again this comes along with a lot of fears, the ban of the GMOs that has been lifted, and of course is it going to come in handy to address the difficulties in the nation as pertaining to the high cost of living, high cost of commodities, household commodities for that matter. We'll be looking at all this and so much more. Welcome you to be part of this conversation as you interact with us. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. I'll be looking at some of the comments that you have dropped us as we continue with the broadcast. Remember, this is Morning Cafe right here on TV47, the home of untold stories. Indeed, thank you for making us the fastest growing television in the country, and we promise to give you nothing but the best, growing bigger and better. And so that's exactly what we'll be giving you this morning. Also later on, we'll be talking to a couple of matters that as well are very, very important. Just getting to understand the importance of the church and their contribution as to the question of politics in the nation. A very important conversation. And later on towards the last minutes of the program, in the world of persons with disability, just what is the nation doing to make sure that the world is a safe space for them. So as we get into this, it is important that you take me through all the way to 9:30 a.m. and the broadcast begins right away. Once again, the program is Morning Cafe and my name is Linda Alela. The Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation and the People Daily are the papers that we look at this morning as we look forward to host 4 guests that will help us decipher on the matters that we'll have touched on. What does the Standard newspaper speak of? Wetangula faces litmus test of a majority ruling. Exactly what it is that I had mentioned earlier on, as well as on the question of the fuel subsidy and a scarred industry as it is, as captured on page 3. An industry that when it reels, you understand very well that it trickles down to every single aspect and sector in the country, and it's not been a rosy moment for the people of Kenya. But as the government of President William Ruto then would tell us, we expect that these times will definitely be tough, but over time then this will be leveled and Kenyans then will get to enjoy at least affordable rates. That is on the question of fuel that will translate to affordable rates to all the commodities in the market that highly depend on this special commodity as well. And DRC fights world's hunger problem. That is in the world page, a story captured on page 25. It's not been all rosy for the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I mean, amidst the tough times, the tough fights, and it being quite an, a rich country, then questions linger as to what really could have informed these tough times in the DRC. Is it poor leadership or what exactly, as they continue to struggle to make sure that they get to enjoy peace in this nation? Also, Ruto turns to GMOs in face of food crisis. Is it a drought resolution or a solution? Well, with more than 4 million Kenyans on the brink of starvation, the cabinet decided that lifting the ban, increasing irrigation and diversifying crops will be the long-term solution to perpetual problem, as captured on page 10. But just what are the ramifications of letting the GMO foods out into the market is a question of wait and see. Perhaps we'll walk the journey with one of the specialists sometime this week to get to understand some more. And we're speaking about 2000 Kenya signs Cartagena Protocol of Biosafety, ratified in around 2003, And of course, we'll be looking at all this very journey as well of the GMOs and what then it would mean for the people of Kenya. Away from it, the question is being asked here as to the conversations that we're having, the coming in of President William Ruto and his deputy, and some of the utterances that they have made so far. Some utterances of assurance to the people of Kenya that indeed their government is focused on bringing out nothing but the best, but also some of them that appear to contradict with the sectors that they are speaking to, and people are asking just what informs these differences when they tend to address or when they tend to speak about these matters. And the deputy, that is Deputy Rigathi Gachagua, has been on the spot as to some of the utterances that he has made, the latest as to the coffers of the country that was contradicted or that was countered by the central bank, and questions linger as to whether this is a classic example of a loose cannon, Gachagua and his many gaffes. Well, we are looking for a professional DCI, not a politician, not a drama queen. We want a DCI who will not spend time on drama and the press, who will investigate cases properly. This is according to Deputy President, that is Rigathi Gachagua, as if to insinuate that the outgoing DCI team then would have been, of course, those ones that were full of drama, and not mincing his words, and equally coming out to justify his says that he really is not apologetic, or he is not worried about some of these utterances that he makes. That we'll be looking at to get to understand whether there is need for that taming, or maybe this to be left for the communications team, for them to make such, declaration, or maybe the communications team then to work handy to always know what it is that he goes out there to speak of in public. And on the Daily Nation, Linturi's sex assault case dropped, a story captured on page 14. Perhaps this then gives him some essence of hope of sailing through the level of the National Assembly. Remember, he's supposed to be cleared as the Minister for Agriculture on the vetting processes that are to be conducted at the House, that is the August House, and questions have been there as to whether some of these cases that he faces in court, including this one of assault, would lock him out. But perhaps then we might need to understand what could have informed the about turn of the person who accused him. A story captured on page 14. Away from it, schools sent students home for fees, and this is a story captured on the back page as we see thousands of learners being sent for non-payment of fees just few days after schools reopened for third term, that is sometimes last week. And school principals said that the institutions are cash-strapped, even as the government clarified that it has released capitation funds to the institutions. That's a story captured right there, and we understand the difficulties that parents are going through, even as we still have this conversation on whether to maintain the competency-based curriculum or not. A state of the shilling, certainly not at the best of space. The Gachagua-Njoroge policy divide, and 120.77 the value of the shillings against the dollar as of yesterday, and marking a 6.75% drop since the start of this very year, when it stood at about 113 cents, and forcing the country to pay more on external debt, as well as traders to mark up their goods. And so the economic crisis limping against the dollar and other benchmark international currencies, while facing an uncertain future as inflation hits about a 63-month high and battered by high global crude oil prices. Well, the Kenya shillings is on a free fall. Its value so uncertain that banks were yesterday holding dollars and causing a biting forex shortage that affected trade and risked lifting the inflation figures further. And so we'll be looking at that to understand what this would mean for the country as we prepare to take ourselves forward. Plus, of course, we also understand the story that has been captured on the front page, expounded on page 7 of the Daily Nation on this 4th day of October. They speak of Plus Fuel. Plus Fuel is now exempted from new KRA taxes, and that also is a story there that we'll definitely be looking at. But on the other side of politics, It is Raila versus Ruto and D-Day in battle for parliament, as we get to see who will take the majority position and who will then definitely take the minority amongst the 349 members of parliament. And we'll be having this conversation alongside the lady and gentleman that will be joining us shortly on set, and so much more. And to the question of health as well, sick and tired of ARVs, nearly 64,000 Kenyans have defaulted on antiretroviral therapy this year. One fed-up girl in Kibra lets us into the battle. That is what this special piece of the Daily Nation then speaks of. It could be quite unfortunate, a report, but we certainly hope that something then is done to get them to that space of acceptance. And that is what it is that we have. Mr. Director, we have the People Daily. Not just yet. All right, fair enough. Let's get to the stories prepared by my team. And players in the animal rights protection are now lamenting the increased violation of animal rights, especially donkey. And according to Brook, East Africa Director, the players are working hard to ensure that animal rights are protected and respected. He says animals must be fed and given water and treated whenever they are sick, a failure to which the law will catch up with those. A brief with media in a nation and in Nairobi, sorry, that is what it is that these people had to say now. The director has called on every person to make sure that animal rights are respected, since some parts of the country have experienced prolonged drought leading to animal death. And according to him, the organization is committed to make sure that animal feeds are available and affordable to all.
Will impact us negatively in the coming years, not just today. And climate change, actually with it, is bringing very strange situations. I think all of you have seen in Europe this year, they experienced a drought that they said they last saw 500 years ago. In Africa, and even in our country, Kenya, right now, we're being told huge number of counties are on the red alert in terms of drought. Because then all issues of water harvesting, all issues of pasture management is all around that. We always want to begin by talking about that, because when animals are well fed, when animals have enough water, they don't come down with diseases. How do we mitigate? How do we ensure that they are able really to bounce back probably when a severe drought comes over? I'll congratulate the organizers of COP, because for this year actually there has been an introduction of the theme of animal welfare, which I think Africa needs to take advantage of. Africa has the largest swathes of land that are in semi-arid than any other continent around the world.
Now, 43 bars and nightclubs have had their licenses suspended by the Nairobi County Liquor Board following a crackdown by the board on noise complaints from residents. Beatrice Watari reports.
The Nairobi Liquor Board says that following the defiance by the nightclubs to comply within the set guidelines necessitated the crackdown. Among the clubs facing a shutdown include Click Lounge, Pioneer Resort, Orchid Lounge, Quiver, Vineyard, Paris, Cocorico, Bar Next Door, Kettle House Bar and Grill, Enzone, Deja Vu, Havens Lounge, Iburi, Numero 5, The Loft, Memphis Bar and Restaurant, Oyster, Onyx, among others. This comes after Hesbon Agwena, the Director of Liquor Licensing, stated in a letter to county technical teams, including security, health officials and NACADA, that the County Liquor Board had received complaints about excessive noise and vibration on licensed liquor premises from residents, and that inspections were being carried out. In an operation conducted by police officers together with National Environment Management Authority NEMA and Nairobi County officials, 26 club managers were arrested for non-compliance on Saturday night, a week after Kileleshwa MCA Robert Alai made a public complaint on 15 entertainment joints on the grounds of noise pollution, drug peddling and other social vices. services. Suspension of the licenses is in accordance with the Nairobi City County Alcoholic Drinks Control and Licensing Act of 2014 under Section 21 and Section 35. Reporting for TV47, my name is Beatrice Watari.
Now, Nairobi-based police have arrested a public service vehicle crew that was captured on viral video hanging dangerously on the door of a PSV minibus while the vehicle was moving. The National Police Service says the driver of the matatu and 2 conductors are currently in custody and are to be arraigned to face various traffic violations charges. Moige William with that.
In a video now viral, 2 middle-aged men, one in dreadlocks, are seen hanging on the door of a minibus that is in transit and a few moments later does backflips. His counterpart is seen stepping on the windows of another PSV minibus while screaming hysterically. The 2 threw legs in the air with hands on the door rails and going on to thrust legs onto the side of another bus the matatu was overtaking. The video, which was captured on phone, aided the cops to make an arrest, revealing details of the minibuses, including their registration number and circles the bus belongs to. On the video, the 2 dangerously displaying acrobatic antiques on a moving public service vehicle belonging to the Umoinia Sacco. The undated video sparked uproar on social media over the weekend, culminating in a call for the 2 touts to be arrested. The 2 were arrested alongside the bus driver and are currently in custody pending arraignment on various traffic violations. The National Police Service in a statement condemned the aforementioned bus crews considered reckless and irresponsible conduct, saying they exposed passengers and other road users to danger. The police said further engagements were ongoing to propose more deterrence actions against the operator. The police further thanked citizens who volunteered information that led to the successful identification of the said PSV matatu and subsequent arrest of the rogue crew. Moige William, TV47.
Now, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has expressed its fear in the country's preparedness to deal with an Ebola outbreak. Speaking in Kisumu County while visiting the Kisumu County Referral Hospital, the clinical officers said that most of the border towns lack enough health workers, with many of them still clueless about the deadly virus.
As Ebola scare continues to grow rife in the country, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has heavily criticized the government for inadequate preparedness against the deadly Ebola virus. According to the clinical officers, many border towns lack enough health workers to deal with a possible Ebola outbreak.
Upo utepetevu mwingi kwa sababu maandalizi hayapo hata katika sekta zetu, viwango za health center ama za hospitali zile ambazo tumeweza kutembea. Tumekuta kwamba wahudumu wa afya hawajahamazishwa, pia wananchi hawana ufahamu wowote, na pia tumejua kwamba pia vifaa vile ambavyo wanahitaji kutumia ili kuweza kufanya diagnosis ya huu ugonjwa hawajapewa, na vifaa vya kujikinga vile ambavyo wanatakiwa kutumia, barakoa, zile mipira za mikono na pia ile kifunika uso hawana.
Further, the clinical officers say many of the health workers, just like Kenyans, are clueless about the virus due to the government failing to sensitize them.
Hii haiwezi kutibiwa ama kuangaliwa katika hospitali yoyote. Lazima kila region iweze kusema kwamba maandalizi yetu na vile ambavyo tunaweza fanya referral inatakiwa kwenda hapa na hapa na hapa na hapa. Kwa hivyo tumepata pia hakuna timu ile ambayo inatakiwa kushughulikia any emergency yenye inaweza tokea katika kaunti hizi zote.
Tunaomba, kwa sababu tumekuwa na shida ya uhaba wa wafanyikazi kwa muda mrefu, tuweze kuajiri wafanyikazi wa afya kwa kila mwaka vile tunaajiri walimu na pia tunaajiri maafisa wale wa defense na polisi wetu. La pili, tukue na ile kitengo ya wahudumu wa afya ambao wametayarishwa kila wakati, ndio kunapotokea janga kama hili waweze wakarespond kwa njia ya haraka sana.
This even as Kakamega County government warns its residents against unnecessary travel into the neighboring country of Uganda following a recent Ebola scare.
Governments, we have put in place measures to ensure that in case there is any case of Ebola, we are going to address it. We have put in place an isolation center at our medical facility in Kakamega. We have also put in place and activated our rapid response team In case of any suspected case of Ebola, we are going to deal with it. But by and large, let us be vigilant. I want to call upon our administration to be on high alert so that in case you come in contact with any suspected case of Ebola, please bring it to our attention.
Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Now, the government will streamline the affordable housing program to make home ownership a reality for low-income earners. The president said he will work with legislators and development partners to find the most viable formula of achieving the affordable housing plan. And as Micah Gongo reports, the president explained that the houses will include 1 and 2 bedrooms, and of course these payments will be made through mortgages.
President William Ruto has commissioned a housing project that will enable Kenyans to become home owners by paying as little as 6,600 shillings per month. Speaking in Nairobi's Mukuru slum Monday, Ruto noted that under the affordable housing program, more than 200,000 units will be constructed across the country over 5 years.
This whole plan was premised on a couple of things that we needed to sort out. First is to make sure that there is land that is available. Number 2 is to make sure that we have technology that can build houses faster and in a cost-effective manner. And number 3, to make sure there is financing, both for construction and for mortgage, so that this plan can become a reality.
The president explained that the houses will include 1 and 2 bedrooms and payments will be made through mortgages.
I am certain that land will not become an impediment on matters of delivery of our housing plan. We will work with the cities, we will work with the counties so that we can make land available for this plan, the housing agenda, so that we can provide better shelter for our people.
However, he clarified that the allocation and sale of the houses will be based on priority, targeting those living in deplorable conditions.
We have established the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company that will support the whole mortgage enterprise and backstop some of the challenges that will come with acquisition of mortgage. CBK has adjusted prudential banking guidelines so that with more deposits, banks can do more lending.
The RPA and NSSF Act allows members to take up to 40% of their savings for paying deposits towards home ownership plan. The current NSSF rates cannot afford a member even the legal fees.
In line with this, the president revealed a social housing plan specifically for the residents of Mukuru in Nairobi, which will see the construction of 13,000 housing units, with 400 completed in the first phase.
Will be made available on a priority basis. We look at who qualifies so that we can put them. For the people in Mukuru, Kwanjenga here and the whole of Mukuru slum, we're going to work with you so that as we transit to here, we get more land in Mukuru to be able to develop more houses. 700 acres is a huge piece of land. We can settle probably about 300,000 people, 3 times the people who today are living in Mukuru Kwanjenga.
Ruto pointed out that the residential facilities will be equipped with amenities such as schools, health centers and markets. A similar project will also be launched in Kibra constituency. The head of state added that his government has established the Kenya Mortgage Financing Company, which will support the mortgage enterprise and handle the challenges that may arise in the house ownership program. Mike Kagwongo, TV 47, Nairobi.
William Ruto.
Now, battle looms in the National Assembly ahead of the resumption of the House sittings in the 2 houses of Parliament Tuesday. The formation of the House Business Committee in the two houses is high on the agenda as the 13th Parliament gets down to business. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is facing his first real test as Azimio and One Kenya and also Kenya Kwanza battle for power. TV47's Apollo Kamau reports.
All eyes are fixated on the National Assembly, where a major test awaits Speaker Moses Wetangula as Azimio and Kenya Kwanza have staked a claim on House majority leadership, despite a letter from the Registrar of Political Parties Anderito giving Azimio the green light as a majority party.
The question of Azimio being the majority coalition in the National Assembly is already settled by the Constitution, the statute, and the standing orders. And that anybody who is dissatisfied with that position can only do the most logical thing, which is to seek redress in court.
In making a ruling, the Speaker will be informed by the Constitution, the standing orders, and a September 7 letter from Anderito informing Acting Clerk Sarah Kioko that Azimio has 185 MPs compared to Kenya Kwanza's 152 MPs. At the heart of the contest is whether Azimio as a political party sponsored MPs. A ruling in favor of Kenya Kwanza will likely see the matter end up in court. Kenya Kwanza claims the numbers have since changed after Azimio affiliate parties MCC, MDG, PAR, and UDM and 10 independent lawmakers defected to the governing alliance.
The Speaker must act as a neutral arbiter, and he acts as a neutral arbiter. The Speaker might have been elected sponsored by Kenya Kwanza, but he doesn't sit as Speaker for Kenya Kwanza. We will put our case forward strongly.
Azimio has already settled on Ugunja MP Opiyo Wandayi as its majority leader to be deputized by Kathiani MP Robert Mbui. Kenya Kwanza has nominated Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah as the majority leader to be deputized by Kilifi North MP Owen Baya. Suna East MP Junet Mohammed is the Azimio designated chief whip to be deputized by Jubilee nominated MP Sabina Chege. Kenya Kwanza has settled on South Mugirango MP Silvanus Osoro as its majority whip to be deputized by Marsabit woman representative Naomi Wako. The 13th Parliament in Tray is also full as lobbying for various House committees gains momentum ahead of the sittings. Azimio has settled on nominated MP John Mbadi to lead the Public Accounts Committee, a slot usually reserved for the head of the official opposition party, while South Pokot MP David Kosing is battling it out with two others to chair the Public Investments Committee. Also up for grabs are other powerful committee slots where intense lobbying is taking place. Sources indicate that among those fronted by Kenya Kwanza is Kiharu lawmaker Ndindi Nyoro as a chairman of the Budget Committee. The Appointment Committee, chaired by the Speaker, will have to be set up to vet President Ruto's Cabinet Secretaries' nominees. On Tuesday, the Senate will vote for members of the powerful House Business Committee, with 7 senators awaiting approval from the plenary. Apol Kamau, TV47.
All right, the government has lifted the ban on genetically modified crops, GMO, after 10 years suspension. The decision was reached in a cabinet meeting chaired by President William Ruto, and this means that farmers have the green light to cultivate and import food crops and animal feeds produced through biotechnology.
The decision to lift the ban on genetically modified crops was arrived at on Monday during a cabinet meeting chaired by President William Ruto.
Good morning, good people. Good morning. How are you? Good.
Consequently, the cabinet approved the cultivation and importation of white GMO maize. The statement reads in part, Cabinet vacated its earlier decision of 8th November 2012 prohibiting the open cultivation of genetically modified crops and the importation of food crops and animal feeds produced through biotechnology innovations, effectively lifting the ban on genetically modified crops. The ban on genetically modified imports was enforced in 2012 following a presidential decree by the late former President Mwai Kibaki. The order allowed recommendations by the then Minister for Public Health, Beth Mugo, who cited a study by a French university that linked cancer in rats to the consumption of GMO foods. The findings of the research were also backed by the Kenya Medical Research Institute. Meanwhile, the recommended adoption of crops that are resistant to pests and disease, Cabinet says, as part of the medium to long-term responses to the ongoing drought and as a progressive step towards significantly redefining agriculture in Kenya. Cabinet also considered various expert and technical reports on adoption of biotechnology, including reports of the Kenya's National Biosafety Authority, World Health Organization, the Food and Agriculture Organization, United States of America's Food and Drug Administration, and the European Food Safety Authority. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Plus, my director says give it to these ones, and therefore we'll read you one of the sports stories this morning. Koyonzo Boys High School Rugby Sevens team held an appreciation gala to celebrate their silver trophy, which they won after finishing the East African School Games Rugby in the second place. Speaking to a section of the press during the gala, the coaches of the rugby team stated that a difference of education system between Uganda, Tanzania and Kenya does not affect the sporting aspect of the East African School Games. The coaches noted that they have an uphill task of defending their title in Kenya as well as East Africa, while they urged stakeholders to sponsor the team financially so as to enable them perform optimally in their upcoming fixtures. Koyonzo Boys High School made its debut in the secondary term 2 games and dominated the Western region before registering good results in the nationals level and eventually made a name for itself with a superb performance at the East African level.
Tangu tuanze jani ya 7C tournament mzima tumelose game moja. Imetutoka na points 2. Nasema ni sababu players wenzangu wengi wako wamepata hiyo, maybe ni first time yao na travel out of the country. Alafu pia ni jam ilikuwa pia mara ya kwanza wana step on big platform. So for them being on the first time kwa big platform pia ilikuwa ni challenge.
Kwamba wengi wanafunzi wetu ni under 19. Ukienda kule Uganda wana viwango hadi form 6, kwa hivyo unapata wachezaji ambao tunacheza nao kwa umri wamezidi wetu. Na vile vile utapata kwamba wanafunzi ambao wamecheza hapa katika kidato cha 4. Kwa mfano wanafunzi wangu wawili wale ambao wamemaliza, wale Waganda walishawafikia na wanawaomba kwamba mwaka ujao waende wacheze kule. Kwa hivyo kumaanisha kwamba wamemaliza hapa, lakini mwaka ujao tunaweza tukakutana nao wakichezea wapinzani wetu.
Hawa ni vijana wa nidhamu, wamefanya mazoezi kwa muda mrefu sana. Na kuanzia mwaka wa 2020 tulikuwa na mipango ya kushinda kikombe hiki. Kwa hivyo wakati huu ambapo kikombe kimekuja, najua tumefurahia sana na tunazidi kufikiria kwamba tutazidi kuchukua kikombe hiki hadi watu wengine wachoke kukitafuta.
We take a quick short break and then we come back with so much more, including the discussion, so don't you go anywhere.
TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome to Body Garage. This is where you not only get...
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression.
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land.
www.mtrucklimited.co.ke.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property,
Kenya is on a journey to
demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming?
I'm ready to join hands with them and do away with this project.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday.
Dangerous for human being.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
I hear many people say
disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can...
Created to champion the development.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games. You have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes. Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. as we skooma the wiki.
It's not all the time you have to read your farm. Sometimes it's of benefit.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. we identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes. Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. as we skooma the wiki.
It's not all the time you have to read your farm. Sometimes it's of benefit.
Starting this September at 8:30 p.m.
Hi and welcome to The Grind. My name is Violet Njoki.
We continue to provide the platform that aims to inform and educate on business-related matter. We are here to ask all the relevant questions on your behalf.
When it comes to a catering business, do you need licenses?
Yeah, a lot of it.
And inform you what is happening in the business arena. Be sure to stay tuned.
All week, you look forward to the weekend. And we are here to help you make the most of it.
We get to do so many fun stuff like cooking, dancing, playing, and not just with our friends, but also with our parents. We also get to learn fun new stuff.
Measure your shoe size without actually wearing the shoe. Mind-blowing, right?
Would you like to join us? Well, see you every Saturday at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Authentic, natural, planned. Transforming. Endless benefits. Slaty, purely Kenyan. Buy now on Jumia or Amazon.
Kilimo Diaries, your go-to agri-show that takes you on a tour of the agricultural world.
You must give them patches. Guinea fowl, unlike our chicken, they are more of wild birds, so they'll always be up.
Kuna mwingine atavuna sasa sisoni na atoe apange kupanda kitu kingine. Hasa vile nimezoea huwa naiacha sisoni ya pili. Na hiyo hata inanipunguzia gharama, manake sitapanda tena.
A fertilizer should not kill insects.
Join me, Violet Njoki, for these stories and more every Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Rwanda's tourism sector is on a steady rise. The land
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer.
We work through implementing.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on
culture of Kigali people?
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out.
And
disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out.
As well for creating time, still getting hoping to get a hold of Honorable Didmus Baraza, who was well promised to be here this morning, and Honorable Mwendega Tabaki sends her apologies. She might not be able to make it to studio this morning, but all the same, the show must continue, and the gentlemen are able enough to articulate the issues that are happening right here in the country. Without going into the details of what the papers detail this morning, I can almost tell that some of the stories that have been captured here are the very stories that we'll be looking at this morning. And the biggest story of the day is what will be playing out in Parliament. Before we come to you, Mheshimiwa, they say it is Wetangula who faces a litmus test over the majority ruling. Is it about Moses Wetangula, or the numbers, would speak for themselves?
It is about Moses Wetangula, and Kenyans are going to see whether Moses Wetangula will be serving the interests of the rule of law, or he will be serving parochial political interests. As a speaker, time has come for him to demonstrate that he can forego political hostage, he can forego political interests, and make a decision based on the rule of law. Whichever decision he makes, it will impress a section of Kenyans, it will annoy a section of Kenyans.
Mheshimiwa here used to say, or said the other time that I was speaking to him, that it's about, it's a straightforward thing, and that there should not be a problem. But so far, close to, 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's been a problem up until today, where we get to know what in Swahili they would call mbivu na mbichi. He says that, if worse comes to the worst, let's do the ballot thing. Let's have people casting a vote in Parliament. I don't know how realistic that then would be, because, in an interesting way, trying to say that the numbers will definitely speak for themselves.
It's not as easy as doing a ballot. And in choosing the leader of the minority and the leader of majority in Parliament, the law has stipulated what should happen. In fact, to me, if the speaker locked himself in a room and made the correct interpretation of the law based on his school of thought, then he will come up with a decision. It will have to go either way. And either way, it will be justified in law. That is the problem of the law. That whichever decision you make, you can find some solace within the law and support that particular decision.
And we'll be expounding it further and getting to understand whether the Registrar of Political Parties then is plunging or plunged us into a bit of, a hula baloo, based on some of these rulings and the fact that, she accorded this side of Azimio One Kenya Alliance that clean bill of health to, continue working as, say, is it a coalition of parties or a party of coalition? That Mheshimiwa is best placed to explain to us. And so Mheshimiwa is about Azimio One Kenya Alliance and now the other parties that are under Kenya Kwanza. Just what exactly is this? Because if the Azimio side then would speak of being a majority, is on the basis of them being under Azimio One Kenya Alliance. And the argument again is that none of them was elected on basis of Azimio One Kenya Alliance. But then again, at the level of the Registrar of Political Parties, they are more or less like, a party. So what exactly is playing out?
Thank you, Rida. But alluding to the matter, the monster in the house, what I would say is that, in fact, as much as we would like to say Azimio is a coalition, Azimio is a party, and it's a party of coalitions. And this particular case, if I am an interpreter of the law, I'm not a lawyer in professional, but I understand the law. In this particular case, I would say the law states very clear that it's either the coalition party majority in the House or the party of majority in the House. In this case, I would say Azimio is a political party. And the political party has no single member of parliament in the House. But it has other coalitions. These other coalitions have their individual membership as coalition parties to that particular party. So due to my interpretation, I will interpret it very clear. And if the law is different, we have a Speaker of the Senate who purported or who happens to be a member of Azimio. This member is already now as a Speaker of the Senate. Nobody have challenged that one of their member of that coalition has switched allegiance and has been elected or appointed to as teacher of Speaker of the National of the Speaker of the Senate. Even at this particular joint, we have another fellow who is Alfred Mutua. Mutua also was part of that coalition. Today, he's a minister. We have not seen anybody stepping to court challenging that particular kind of appointment. And in this case, it will still appear in the floor of the House. How do you expect these members who are already in another coalition, whether this is in paper or what will matter is the membership in the floor. And in any case, if Wetangula would not want to put himself in murky, he should leave this matter to the members of the House to decide who are majority if the dispute will still arise in the floor.
And so in this case, as UDA, you're looking forward to take the majority position? UDA?
Of course, yes.
As UDA?
Yes, as UDA.
Or as UDA? Yes. Well, Wakili, this is a little bit of a tongue twister. Perhaps that's why we say then it requires some essence of Solomonic wisdom. Why is it that it appears like it's not as straightforward? And what do we, envision in future in the event that we have adjustments by elections that could otherwise then alter this?
The assertion by my good friend Mweshimiwa here that UDA is the majority and should be taken to the floor to determine is actually violence. Because when you go to the floor, you bring on the issue of the physical majority. And the physical majority, from the day William Ruto became president, became Kenya Kwanza and the affiliate parties. What we expect Moses Wetangula to do is to give us interpretation of Article 108 of the Constitution on the majority party and the minority party. And the clarity of the law is to the effect that a majority party is a party with the highest number of elected members, or that is qualified, or a coalition party with the highest number of MPs. What this will ordinarily mean is that in the event we have parties alone, then we go by the party that has the majority. In the event that we have coalition of parties, then the coalition takes precedence. And the 12th Parliament amended the Political Parties Act to the effect that now coalitions are registered as parties.
Therefore they hold.
And therefore they hold. If Parliament did not intend to recognize coalition of parties on the floor of the House, nothing would have been as easy as refusing to legislate on it. And I can tell you, Linda, today that I know Moses Masika Wetangula will determine that UDA is the largest party and therefore a majority.
Which will be misplaced according to you?
I can tell you for free that tomorrow a Kenyan of goodwill will go to court. And I can tell you that the High Court will invalidate the decision of Moses Masika Wetangula. And I do not understand why UDA would be in a hurry to want to be declared a majority, when in essence, after the collapse of 90 days from the day of the election, the affiliate parties of Azimio that have already entered into a union with Kenya Kwanza would officially and formally leave their parties and legally join Kenya Kwanza and accord Kenya Kwanza the majority it deserves. And we do things the right way. Otherwise, it will be a very wrong beginning for Moses Masika Wetangula and for William Ruto to declare and grab the role of a majority that they know very well that a constitution does not allow.
A little bit of confusion here that Azimio One Kenya is a coalition party.
Registered as a
Kenya Kwanza is not.
Kenya Kwanza is
and so how do we have then the confidence that if there's going to be a switch after the 90 days that we speak of, then automatically they can be accorded that position of being majority as Kenya Kwanza?
What will happen? We are anticipating that Kenya Kwanza will register as a coalition of political parties. Because we have the pre-election and we have the post-election.
And the window is open for them to register.
The window is open for them to register.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, why the rush?
As much as Wakili would like to allude himself in such an interpretation, I still have a very serious feeling that that is not practical. And the reason why it not be practical is that membership, we purport that actually are the membership that makes the majority of coalition in the House. In case matters gets to a hot soup, I believe that in fact there is no barrier to allow those coalitions of parties to decide on their position in the floor of the House. Because the floor of the House will hold the membership of the official members, not anything purported to be an MOU or what. So I think the best thing is that allow this membership of these coalitions to determine their position in the floor, if in case there is such a dispute. Because in case of such a dispute, I believe that the only wise way is to look the way out. And to look the way out, allow the membership to declare or to decide who are the majority on the floor. And the only way to decide on that is the Speaker to allow the matter to be debated on the floor. And after that debate, they allow the membership to cast a vote.
Why is it that it's a big deal for the Speaker? Just how much of power does the Speaker have on this very matter versus what powers then the members of the House would have in relation to the same?
Linda, the Speaker of the House is the head of the legislative arm of government. The heavy legal decisions weigh heavily on him, and he must make such decisions with precision and with respect to the rule of law. Wetangula Moses is not an ordinary member of parliament. He's the man at the helm of the National Assembly. He's the third in command, and he must make this decision. Why I don't find favor with Mheshimiwa's interpretation is that his argument is not anchored in law. When you are asking members to vote and elect the majority side, which standing order or which provision of the Constitution are you relying on? We cannot abdicate the Constitution, run away from the Constitution, run away from the standing orders, and then determine a matter in a manner that pleases us. That would have been the easiest way for Moses Masika Wetangula to determine this particular question. But we shall be asking ourselves, which standing order shall Moses Masika Wetangula be invoking? Because the operations of parliament are guided by the standing order. And when you look at the standing order, it's as clear as day that the leader of the majority party will be the party with majority members will be the majority party, or the coalition of parties will be majority coalition. And to this, the Speaker only has a role to determine which then is the largest party or the largest coalition of parties. If Moses Masika Wetangula will allow members, will give in to the temptation of allowing members to decide the majority and the minority side, he'll be breaking the law at the second level. The first level of breakage of the law will be to allow UDA to be said to be a majority party against to the obvious dictates of the Constitution. That could be excused because he'll give reasons. But asking members to elect will be a double legal tragedy insofar as the interpretation of the Constitution and the standing orders is concerned.
And then again, it will stand a chance of being challenged in court.
Whatever decision is made today, Kenyans will go to court. We have career litigants.
Leader, for sure. I believe, and this is the total truth of the matter, as much as we have such a clause in the law that purports about who is majority, who is minority, really, why do we fear to arrive to a point where these numbers that are purported by the law can participate on the chamber floor and declare which side is that majority? Because how do you purport that you have a majority where you don't have when we arrive to that floor of the House?
Okay.
Yes, because those numbers are purported by the same law must be real in the floor of the House. Yes, otherwise how would you have a majority who are a minority in the floor?
You see, and Wakili, I know you want to say something, but as well, I'd also love to understand for purposes of, just getting this argument right, just how important is it for a party to have that name majority?
First, let me respond, at least for the last time, on the idea of MPs voting on the floor. And I'll give 2 examples. Mheshimiwa Gakuya and the honorable members of Kenya Kwanza, including the president, are beneficiaries of a minority decision that found favor with the law.
Right.
When we had a stalemate at IEBC and 4 commissioners were disputing the results, the 3 commissioners who were a minority were standing for the truth and declaring that William Ruto won. That was the right thing to do.
Okay.
The 4 commissioners will not have said, because we are a majority, let us vote on this table and see who is the president-elect. That law does not make such a provision.
Okay.
When you're following the law, the majority are not always right. And if the 4 commissioners would have voted, they would have declared Raila Odinga.
Perhaps.
Even Chebukati said that these commissioners wanted me to alter results and declare Raila Odinga the president.
Yes.
So the majority does not hold.
Does not hold in this case. But speaking of the same, and now that we are in this particular space and the constitution and the laws that we have, we all understand that the constitution then will supersede, will carry the day in the event that we look at the laws of the land. But equally, bring it to the fore a scenario where we really have lacuna. Perhaps do we need to look into this matter and make adjustments to incorporate such an arrangement that in future, in the event that such a thing then would come up, we might want to take that direction without flouting what the rule dictates?
Yes, and Parliament can decide as early as next week.
Okay.
By specifically amending their standing orders to provide that majorities and minorities will be determined on the floor of the House. The last example, Linda.
Yeah.
If you are married and you divorce, God forbid, you can divorce by just walking away and going to your parents' home.
Right.
That does not mean that you have stopped being the legal wife of your husband.
Yes.
You may have all the freedom in the world, but you cannot remarry until you have formally obtained a decree of divorce from a court of law.
The other day, I was reading the papers and they were saying that now the courts have declared that you can as well get married even before being divorced. If it is not working, it is not working. I don't know whether that has...
The decision is being challenged.
Yes.
But you see, the courts had to make that pronouncement that you can just walk away. Even though the law says this, you can just
walk away.
So Parliament can also make a decision that even though the Constitution provides this, and our standing orders, we can elect the majorities. Back to the question that you asked, being a majority party comes with some benefits.
Okay.
One, even in terms of the pecking order in Parliament, the leader of the majority is higher, takes precedence over the leader of the majority. In fact, it is the Speaker, the leader of majority, and the leader of minority. That tells you how important and coveted this position is. Number 2, appointment to the House Business Committee, which is the engine of Parliament and National Assembly in terms of what goes in National Assembly. We have the SIGNET positions like the Speaker, leaders of majority and minority, the whips. But we have a provision that parties or coalition of parties will contribute to that membership of the House Business Committee based on whether they are a majority or a minority.
Okay.
If you are a majority, you give more members, even by 1 or 2,
Yes.
to the House Business Committee, and therefore you can hold that House Business Committee at ransom and decide what takes place. That applies to the formation of committees. When you are sending names, the majority side sends more names than the minority side. And this is why UDA and Kenya Kwanza are in a struggle, spirited effort to ensure that they are accorded this status of the majority or the majority so as to have an upper hand in the House Business Committee and to the other select committees of the National Assembly. And any political formation within Parliament will want to have such status.
Right, and you know, I agree to that, and perhaps to equate this to this conversation of having a hung parliament, that you do not want to be in government as the president, yet you do not enjoy the numbers at the level of the National Assembly. But then again, there is quite a slim margin as to the numbers, and perhaps, like you rightfully put it, there's that advantage of having those ones that are part of Azimio One Kenya, you know, shifting gears to this side of Kenya Kwanza. Do you suppose then that if the Azimio One Kenya is to carry the day and take the majority, that they will hold the other side ransom, that it will be difficult for them to, you know, make the operations of the House up to the level of the executive, while we understand that there's such a slim margin in terms of the difference?
One reader, I would just categorically state this. It would be so unfair, so unjust to allow minority to be the majority in the House. One, they will sabotage. They will automatically sabotage the tradition, rules of the House and the business of the House. And that is a position that we cannot allow to be.
Right.
And in this particular case that I want to say, yes, majority of the ODM, of the Azimio already have conceded this. But they are just few number who still insist that, yes, we are. But if these numbers are not really in the floor of the House, then what do you do solomonically? We have seen other countries of where this has happened, though maybe their professions of the law are somehow different. We have seen it in Israel and also in other areas where a president or prime minister is elected, but having a minority in the House. And that's how the merger comes, or then those post arrangement of equation comes. In this matter, it is very clear that the Kenya Kwanza, as a coalition, whether it is a registered coalition or not, still enjoys the majority in terms of numbers. If we move to party, then individual parties, the UDA still commands the numbers in the floor. And allowing now the minority who actually could not even perform to have a speaker. And then at this point we move to say they are the majority with 130 membership, where there is another team with 215 or so.
Because there are some people who have shifted gears because we're talking about the independent candidates, or what exactly, Mheshimiwa? The reason why we're having this, Steve, is simply because we understand that if we are to go the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio side, then definitely this other side will carry the day, even if it's by a difference of 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And therefore, perhaps that's the reason why we're having this.
Leader, does the independent candidates have a law in the floor of the House? Can't they not?
They do.
Yes. Do you understand that the law discriminates them to have a say in the floor of which side they can vote? It
does not. And that is why they're bringing this conversation of freedom of association. But perhaps to contradict all the other legal aspects of this, trouble that arises at this very space, or at this very moment. We have a window that we speak of. But then again, we also understand that the electorate back at the constituencies as well got to elect these independent candidates, these members of parliament, on specific angles, aligning to their ideologies. And therefore, this switched really. What does it speak to the common mwananchi who believed in an individual, in a member of parliament as an independent, believed in them as a member of Azimio One Kenya Alliance, and then at this stage, they are shifting allegiance without having to go back to the people again to consult?
Kenya is not a functional democracy. The democracy in this country has been thrown to the dogs. If Kenya was functional democratically, any independent candidate who joins a political formation or a political party in a manner that is anticipated in law should naturally lose their seat and go back to the electorate and tell the electorate, I came as an independent, but I now want to join ODM. Can we have an election so that you reapprove my decision to join ODM? But in this country, that does not happen. In fact, you will soon see ODM MPs joining UDA or Kenya Kwanza and vice versa, and the attempt by their parties to discipline them will flop, basically because Kenya is not a functional democracy. We have no respect for institutions. We have no respect for the rule of law. If a member is elected on a political party, they should stick to that particular political party to the end. But they can quit their political parties, even by behavior, and seek fresh mandate from the electorate. The late Obadiah Jaramogi Oginga Odinga resigned from KANU in 1966 and went to KPU. He had the presence of mind and presence of sanctity of his conscience to resign as MP together with his loyalists and seek new mandate from their people under KPU. That was perhaps one of the few moments we've experienced that happen in this country. When Raila Odinga resigned from Ford Kenya, he sought the new mandate of his people to vie on NDP. Why is it that today's young, intellectual and progressive members of parliament cannot have the presence of mind and conscience to resign from their political parties and seek a mandate on a new political formation? It is because democracy has basically been thrown to the dogs.
All right. Do you think it is also the works of the Registrar of Political Parties for us to be in this state of despondence, in as much as, again, also the members of parliament in making amendments on, say, the electoral laws, the party, the Political Parties Act that got us to this very space that, again, as members of parliament as well, you do not know how to go about it. And then this is thrown to the wind, if not to the Speaker of the National Assembly to address.
Reader, what I would say is that, in fact, some of these laws are the laws that were brought to Parliament on the tail end of the last Parliament. And they were rushed for a purpose. And I would like to say very categorically that this was a gimmick to make sure that people will not cross from their original parties to the parties they are in currently. And the problem we are facing now, we had that problem during the time of the tenor given, the room given by the same constitution in terms of timelines to cross from a party to another. Most of us were locked and totally locked in Jubilee. And you automatically, reader, if you can remember very well, as the law stipulates, is that once you cross from a particular party, then you cannot serve two parties. And therefore, once you immediately cross, then you be purported to have lost your position, your seat. But this never happens. Nobody lost his seat during those last few months to election after crossing from a party to another. And I still oversee that lacuna within what that law is crafted, because it is purporting that you can have a minority in the floor because they are purported to have signed memorandums of pre-election arrangements. In this case, I would say, yes, we need to fine-tune these gray areas, but it cannot be done today. Today, we must transact the business of the day. Let the speaker declare the position, and then let those who not be able to be satisfied with that ruling then move to seek for their justice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it will be interesting to watch, but just how important will it be for the, I don't know whether to call it Kenya Kwanza government or UDA government, because it is just a matter of time before you get to hear, and then they speak of it being a UDA government, especially on a space where there was no official agreement or arrangement. How important would it be for them to get this majority position if at all we're looking at the question of numbers? And we all understand that without numbers, it is hard for a government to perform. It is hard for the executive and the president to manage some of the activities of the nation. But in this case, it is obvious that, well, the president enjoys quite some numbers at the level of the National Assembly, and therefore it would not be very difficult for them to conduct their business. But just how important would it be for him to get the majority?
It will be important for him to get the majority because he will then determine and have a majority on committees, the basic committees, the House Business Committee and the select committees. Without that tag of being a majority, the Azimio One Kenya coalition party will outnumber him in committees.
Okay.
And remember, if you have a majority in the committees, it goes without saying that you elect the chair, you elect the vice chair. And these chairs and vice chairs of committees are going to play a very critical role in support of the government of the day, that is William Ruto's government.
Right.
They will also play a very critical role in undermining and sabotaging and oversighting government. So it is crucial for the political administrative reasons that William Ruto gets that majority tag today.
How then do we speak of an independent parliament, a parliament that will be keen to, conduct the House businesses, cognizant of the importance of this to the people as opposed to the parties that they align to? Can we say that it is hypocritical to assume that then Parliament can get into that space where they are going to conduct the activities of the House, looking at the interests of the people as opposed to what it is that their parties dictate? Mheshimiwa was there, the other face, and he will tell you that at some point in time they felt like Jubilee really wanted to twist them, that everything that had to come to the floor of the House was to be ruled in favor of the Jubilee party, was to be ruled in favor of the government of the day. If not so, then we saw the purge that was there. If not so, then we saw the whipping that was there. And therefore, in this case, if we're to look at it in form of parties in line with coalitions, then where are we left in terms of getting the interests of Wanjiku addressed?
In fact, Linda, we are in this argument, and UDA and Kenya Kwanza will support Wetangula's decision today to declare UDA a majority party because they are in government. And I want to remind Mheshimiwa Gakuya how they were frustrated by the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta and Jubilee Party in their last days of the 12th Parliament, because they were outsiders within the government. The same feeling they are going through to the tail end of the 12th Parliament is the same feeling that Azimio will be going through beginning today after Wetangula makes this decision. And then Kenya Kwanza and UDA should not celebrate for too long, because times change. The yesteryears, Jubilee under Uhuru Kenyatta was omnipotent, omniscient, and it had powers that were not known in law. Today, President Ruto is in such position, and the Kenya Kwanza MPs have such privileges. But times are coming when the circumstances will change. It may take 5 years, it may take 10 years, it may take 20 years. But Honorable Gakuya and his colleagues in UDA will find themselves where ODM and Azimio affiliates are finding themselves today. We are having these discussions because Parliament is not functional. In a functional Parliament under our Constitution, we should not be concerned about who is the majority and who is the minority, because under law, Parliament is just one. And members of Parliament are assigned roles under Article 94 collectively. And Article 95 of our Constitution speaks to the role of the members of the National Assembly collectively as a whole. The role of oversight, for example. We expect that Honorable Gakuya, even though elected on a UDA ticket, should hold the governor of the central bank accountable for his decision without saying that I am in government. Should ensure that parastatals deliver services to the people of Embakasi North without caring whether those parastatal heads are appointed by the president or not. That is the kind of parliament that the Constitution envisages. A parliament that is bipartisan, a parliament that is functional, a parliament that is not divided on the lines of political loyalty, among other things. And so if we can make our parliament functional, it matters not today who will have the majority.
Who will have the minority. Mheshimiwa, I know you'd want to respond to that. Allow us to take a quick short break and then we'll come back to you.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories. Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning the price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes. Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki for Untold Stories.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Wakili Kenny Chesa is with us this morning, as well as Member of Parliament of Embakasi North, Honorable Jimmy Gakuya. And Jimmy, we come to you to respond to what Wakili here says. Valid points. If we are to take it legally, if we are to look at things as they would, so they're supposed to be, or as they would be, if we are living in that world of utopia, then we expect that Parliament would behave as expected by the Constitution, Article 94, 95. But then again, this we normally see the House going contrary to some of these legal minds. And I mean, in most cases, you realize that they will try to coin the narrative in favor of what it is that they do. Twist the SRC. If not so, then they speak of fighting to make sure that they cushion Kenyans from the hard times. But most of the times, that is not what happens. They align to their preferred, political party, and at the end of the day, it is a roller coaster. What will it take for you people to get this discipline and understand that yours is oversight, legislation, as well as, it is oversight, legislation, and representation, which in most cases we do not seem to get?
Reader, there's a lacuna, and the lacuna is quite enormous. And this is the manner in which political parties have been empowered. Political parties are very powerful in these houses, be it Senate, be it County Assembly, be it a National Assembly. And until when the members will decide to amend such powers from the party, so that in fact the individual members can be able to be independent, because saying independent, it tells you that you have to have independent decision comes when there is a vote or a decision to be taken. This has not been there, and I will tell you for sure, by those tail ends of the last parliament, you realize that a very big number of membership of the Jubilee changed their origins and moved to UDA, though legally they were in Jubilee, because they were elected in the House by the party of, or through the party of Jubilee. But remember, reader, that there was a correction which was not anywhere in paper, which corrected between the handshake between the former Prime Minister,
yeah,
and then the former head of state, which have taken positions. Remember, there was no law crafted or any standing order, but they invoked a way where the opposition or minority then, they were awarded positions of committee chairman by that handshake. But it was not a coalition anywhere, it was nothing. So these presidents that took place then, you must expect them to also to trend today.
There's a confusion about the law here, and Wakili, then you come in handy. That the law does not envision for us to do this and that. But at the same time, the same law does not stop for something of that nature to come on board. And perhaps that's the reason why we saw all this that Mheshimiwa speaks of. We get into that space of confusion. How is this then addressed? That's something that, you know, that would come from the blues. Then we get ourselves into it. And the argument is that, well, the law does not envision this, but at the same time, there's nowhere within the law that stops the same to happen. I mean, just what exactly, how are we supposed to read the law, especially when it gives some certain clauses that would otherwise appear to stop something or maybe would not applaud something? I don't know whether my question is being understood.
Your question is understood, and I'll begin from where Mheshimiwa left. That in the last parliament, we saw Jubilee awarding chairmanship of committees to members of the minority. You know, we do not have any law that determines who should be the chair of a committee. It is elected on the basis of a majority decision within those committees. Even today,
though the standing orders are very clear, which are those positions, and there are watchdog committees that are provided for the minority side. You cannot tell me it is legal when then you invoke something that's out of the standing order. Then you start dishing out positions to the then minority from the majority. And then you make a kind of correction which is nowhere in paper or memorandum to take over the business of the House.
Linda, the only committees that the opposition or the minorities must take charge of is what we call the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investments Committee. And those committees, to the best of my knowledge, at no time have they been given to government MPs. Even when our parliamentary democracy was at its lowest in the 12th parliament, they were not given to Jubilee. They were retained by ODM. But in terms of the rest of the select committees, and the standing orders are very clear, is that members of that committee will elect the chair and the vice chair of the committee. In fact, Parliament is supposed to work and function without interference from the executive. In a perfect society, Parliament will not wait for the executive call to decide who becomes the chair of a committee. Members of that committee ought to be allowed to vote. If it's a government party requisite to have that person, why then do we subject members of a committee to vote and elect their own chair? Even in PAC and PIC, members are allowed and are free to vote, only that by practice in our Commonwealth parliamentary system is that you vote for a person who is in the minority or the opposition party.
Then my case then appears there. If there is no harm to elect, for the members of a certain committee to elect any member, whether it's from this minority party or majority party, why do you labor too much in the elements of majority and minority?
It is because the standing orders do not allow. For the chair and the vice chair, standing orders are clear that after appointment to a committee, members at their first meeting shall elect the chair and the vice chair. But on the issue of the majority and minority, the standing order says it is by the numbers. And where do you get the numbers?
Are where?
The numbers
are on the floor.
But wait a minute.
The numbers are not on the floor. The numbers are with the register of political parties. Now, if you are doubting the membership of a person.
And I need to ask you, do you think then the registrar of political parties plunges us into a state of despondence?
She does not. She has played her role.
Okay.
All we need from the Registrar of Political Parties is in which party is Honorable Gakuya in. Then she says UDA.
Okay.
Which coalition? Do we have anything like a coalition party in this country? Have you registered? Yes, I have registered. Then the Speaker and the leadership of Parliament will do their own numbers. The registrar has played her role. And on the issue where the law says you have to do this, or there is no problem doing this, that perhaps may be what we call a lacuna in law. When we find ourselves in such a situation, what progressive societies will do is to go to the Supreme Court in what we call an advisory opinion. Or you can go the Marende way and be innovative. It's called legal innovation. Invent the law in a manner that protects the rule of law and advances democracy. Remember when Marende was unable to say between Odinga and Musyoka who would be the leader of the House Business Committee, he invented the law and says, where we are finding ourselves in such a scenario that the law does not anticipate, then the Speaker shall be the chair of the leader of the House Business Committee, the leader of government business in the House. So you can become innovative, but it will be dangerous.
And this innovation then works instantly, or it is innovation that will be used in the event that such arises?
Is an innovation that will be used when the situation calls for it. Yes.
Or calls for it.
Calls for it. And if it is innovation in a manner that will undermine the law, then the courts will have to stop such innovation and say, you cannot be innovative in a very retrogressive way. We only allow innovation in a very progressive way.
And you know, Mheshimiwa is drawing parallels to what happened during the Nusum, not really the Nusum Kate, the handshake moments. And then I want to ask this. You are excited that you have the independents that are speaking the language of Kenya Kwanza. Excited that we have some members of the Azimio One Kenya that have shown the interest of somehow, you know, selling the agenda of Kenya Kwanza, not necessarily shifting, but then again, perhaps within the window that we speak of, then they'd be able to, you know, clearly say that we have shifted allegiance. But during this very time as well, we had members of the UDA side that were part and parcel of the Jubilee, and without taking us to a by-election, they decided that they are going to be part of Jubilee just by name, but everything else they conducted under the UDA side. And in this very space, we did not have adjustments as to the majority and the minority. Why is it that on basis of having these ones that are shifting allegiance, you want to declare the other side the majority? What is different? What was different then that is different at this point?
What was different then is that you can remember very well that the Jubilee as a party automatically after that particular 2017 election attained the majority in the House.
Yes.
And also there were those other elements, membership of independent plus those other small parties who also later joined to the Jubilee Party for lead to attain something to do with the 210 membership also. During the time, the roast period when the matter or the pot of the Jubilee became too hot, you remember very well after the whip that was whipped by the party in the House. Then those who are loyal to the UDA were whipped out. And if the party was serious enough to take action, I believe they could have taken that action such a long time ago, because if the party purports you cannot be seen enjoying two parties in the floor, then they were very clear that actually these people are only here on their body language, but their heart are elsewhere. So I think the whip, also to crack whip to seek for by-election of all those membership, was at the mercy of the Jubilee.
Of the Jubilee, which they did not, and therefore you think you are not to blame.
No, but everybody was expecting if that comes in,
you're ready.
Then we are ready for it.
Okay.
Remember, leader, about 3 months to an election, 3 months to election, also the crossing over from a party to another, that hoping also came because people wanted to shift from their mother party to their new parties. And let me tell you, those who are in the Jubilee were rocked totally you could not be able to use any methodology to switch unless you go there in person, write a letter of resignation, and then the same letter is being stamped, you take it to the registrar of political parties, so that officially you cross over. And therefore, even at the particular moment, the party had every privilege to move to court and seek such kind of clarity and make sure that actually those who have crossed can now not enjoy the rest of the 3 months to election. That's never happened. This matter, I can tell you, is a matter that has been to the favor of the sitting government. Today, I am sure, as Wakili has argued there before, tomorrow there can be change of guards, which is okay. But until we smoothen our policies well, then we always put some lacunas purposely to block others to take charge to a certain direction. And until when we anticipate ourselves to have such good laws that are not crafted purposely to punish a certain organization of the house. That's only when we shall arrive to a such kind of maturity. And that time will come when parties will be not having very big say, and when the parliament, or the house, or the two parliaments will become independent. The independence means the powers of those parties are not purely at the floor of the house, and then the membership were being left to enjoy their independence in the floor. So that if you were elected, you are elected by a certain bus which took you to the floor of the house. But when you arrive to the floor of the house, you know your duty is to make sure that you address the matters of interest to the nation and to the Wanjiku. But you have been appointed, you are whipped to move to a totally contrary the election, and you vote such way because really you want to appease your party. Then these lacunas will be there. And I would say this matter should rest. We must allow the speaker to determine, because the law, the laws of the land gives him power to decide which party is the majority. And after that particular ruling, let anybody who feels that actually is injured by that move to court. I am sure tomorrow, if things changes, it will not be in my favor. I wasn't, when the hardship came, it wasn't, I was displaced, and it was not in my favor. So these casualties will keep coming.
They should be, they should be ready.
Simply, Mheshimiwa is saying it is their turn to eat. Let them eat.
It's not time to eat. It is that we have those numerical numbers that dictate
the numbers
to be the majority in the floor.
Let us close this matter on this point, Wakili, because this one will always rest at the legal aspect of things. You know, it is the Constitution, it is the Political Parties Act, it is the election laws and all that. We're talking about majority in terms of numbers. And in future, perhaps we would get to a space where we get independent candidates holding the majority in parliament. We cannot overlook that possibility. And also, we are speaking of this perhaps is here, but maybe we could skip it by a whisker. But then again, it would be important for us to have this conversation, a scenario where we're likely to pick the majority as, say, Kenya Kwanza today, and before you know it, maybe a month or 2, 3 later, because of the shifting of allegiance, then the majority becomes the other side, and therefore adjustments are supposed to be made. If we do not get to this space, maybe in future we would get into such a space. Do we then make these adjustments in terms of the committees in the houses, like you say, and accord the privileges to that which then would be looked at as majority after the adjustment?
Even before going to Akili, we have automatically be in that position. Where you have seen independent governors rising to positions. You have governor of Taita Taveta, you have governor of Melo. Those governors does not have majority membership of the floor, of either floor. So they have no choice, but they have to go with that.
You have to align.
Yes, you have to align. Then you have no choice. You have to align, because surely the membership of those county assemblies.
Yes.
You have no say at all, because these are totally different
parties,
teams in the floor.
Yes.
And what will matter is that whoever speaker will get elected, that speaker will now determine who carries the floor of majority, and the governor has no choice but to work in tandem with what the fate you take.
Okay.
Even I am overseeing a situation even when this country is going to grow democratically, and most likely we are going to have an independent president who will be commanding no single member in the floor of the chamber.
Yeah.
and therefore, I think it is also important to look into those gray areas, then club them together well and see how we can put a very good legislative way on how to manage our ways of political arrangement. Because today, as they are to the benefit of who are in power.
In power. Yes. Well, interesting gray areas there that maybe we need to speak of before we find ourselves into such situations.
Our problem as a country is that we rarely legislate objectively. Whenever we are called upon to make law as parliament, parochial political interests take a center stage. When members of parliament, towards the tail end of the 12th parliament, were making law and even amending the Political Parties Act, they are holding political brief for their masters, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta and Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And they ended up amending the law in a manner that will not be sustainable. Today, as Speaker Wetangula makes the ruling on who is the majority or the minority, he may disregard the law and address the political culture, the political interests that he holds. Tomorrow, somebody else will do the same. The problem with doing this is that you find yourselves in problems continuously, depending on the circumstances and depending on the nature of the task that lies ahead of you. But if you make a decision objectively and know your political masters and know your political affiliations, the decision is likely to serve Kenyans across generations without people having to feel that they have been left out.
Right.
Today, if Wetangula says that, for example, Azimio is the majority party, he would have made a landmark decision. So that in future, even if sitting president buys all members from the other side, he cannot, he cannot earn a majority on the floor because these members will have to resign and seek a fresh mandate. But if we go by this reasoning that we go to the floor and determine presently or today, where do you stand, Honorable so and so? Me, I support Kenya Kwanza. I support Azimio. We are running the risk in 20 years' time when Honorable Gakuo is elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya on a Mwananchi Progressive Party MPP, and he has only 30 MPs to summon them to his home in Embakasi North and say, those of you who are elected on Kakamega People's Party, come, I want to work with you. So he has 12. Bungoma People's Party, he has 12. Ukambani Members Association, he has 30. And then within no time, a man who came to power with 30 MPs by evening, he is commanding 210 MPs on the floor, and then his coalition will form a majority. We must have some standards as a nation. We must have some standards as parliament, that if we are elected on a political party, it matters not your decision afterwards, but let it be procedural, follow the procedure, resign from the party that sent you to parliament, and then take. For example, in Rift Valley, majorly, and Luo Nyanza, people were being elected largely based on their political parties. Those who want tickets on ODM in Luo Nyanza, whether they were capable or not, they were elected. In Rift Valley, UDA was the dominant party. In Ukambani, Wiper was the dominant party. So we cannot have a UDA MP in Mosop, for example, saying that I can now be independent and switch my loyalty to Azimio.
Because
basically,
party affiliation that got
if you return this fellow to the electorate on any other party, even if he's a professor of politics, the electorate will reject him and come with a UDA. So when people were voting in Mosop, they were looking at a person who will support the agenda of William Ruto at the national government. They are not looking at individuals. There is need for MPs to respect the political parties that brought them to parliament, because voters were aware that they were in those political parties.
Mheshimiwa.
Let me just agree with Wakili, but at some point I would say, in the case we are in, the scenario we are, Reader, don't forget that we have just come from a general election. The members understand very well where they have come from. They understand the importance of their mother parties. But don't forget, each party whipped its membership before the election of the speaker and the swearing of those members. And each side lobbied their team on the route to take. But coming to the floor of the House, the results were totally different. Those members who at least convened at Longai under the leadership of the former president and the former prime minister. Actually, their numbers were almost 160 something. But coming to the floor, realize their numbers has gone down to 130. Yeah. That tells you what? It tells you that there were those people who enjoy their membership of their party, but at least at their own feeling, they felt that they should support a different.
You know, politics is a game of interest, and perhaps they are switching gears because they don't want to be out.
That's why we are saying allow the membership of the floor to determine
freedom of association.
Who has the majority in the floor, because these majority are not required anywhere else, but to the business of the House.
You know, Linda, when you have the yam and you have the knife, you will attract more visitors. When Uhuru Kenyatta had the yam and he had the knife, he had a majority on the
but
floor.
We departed.
It's exactly what is happening right now.
Today, William Ruto has the yam.
Yes.
He has the knife. So the hungry members will run to this homestead to at least test tea using the yam. But if we were to allow members to choose their affiliation based on who has the yam and who has the knife, then we are going to stifle our democracy. We are going to kill the institution of parliament. We should never make decision based on the executive allegiance. Henry Kosgei suffered this at one time. When they were voting in parliament to allow Mlolongo system, he was at the forefront of shouting that Mlolongo is the best democratic way of electing leaders because everyone sees what is going on. He became the first casualty when his line was changed, his image changed and given to his opponent. So we may celebrate a decision today because we are in the executive. Remember at one time, Ndindi Nyoro and Alice Wahome in 2017, after Supreme Court nullified the election of Uhuru Kenyatta, called for the banning of Supreme Court judges in the CBD. But after some times, and after they fell out of favor with President Kenyatta, they praised and went back to the judiciary for protection. Right. So let us protect our institutions for posterity. Let us protect parliament so that we can have a functional parliament. Even when we have the worst president, Kenyans can have hope. And parliament has always been united on specific aspects. It is not entirely divided on the issues of party loyalties. Yeah. I can tell you for free, Linda, that even if William Ruto today opposed reintroduction of CDF, UDM members will still defy him and vote for the introduction of CDF.
For their own.
So in terms of representation, members of parliament are perfect. They will do it without considering who was the yam and who was the knife, because they want to bring yam closer to parliament. Why can't we take this approach that on national issues, on matters that call for their attention, they make decisions without looking at the executive, without waiting for why can't they switch off their phones when they are conducting parliamentary business to boost the levels of their independence?
Well put. Mheshimiwa, as well as Wakili, allow us to take a quick short break and an extra 20 minutes of your time for us to look at these, talks or whispers that we hear about a merger, and most importantly, also once the House swings to action, we're looking forward to see whether then they vet and, accord those ones that have been picked by the president, a clean bill of health to represent us at the several or the various ministries that we have. We'll take a short break and come back to that.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories. J. Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
bipolar,
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
and even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out.
And it's a relief for Mithika Linturi as woman dropped sexual assault case, and the woman had accused the former senator of sneaking into her room in a hotel and sexually assaulting her. Prosecution told court complainant that, the prosecution told the court that the complainant had voluntarily sought to have the case withdrawn. We are not in the business of discussing this, gentlemen. Honorable Jimmy Gakuya as well as Wakili Chesa. The business or the reason why I pick on this matter is because we are heading to that space where once the House is able to get itself in order today and get to that space where the formation of committees is done, then we get to the vetting process. If we are to look at the aspect of vetting, if there's an individual that fate then would hang in the balance is the like of Linturi, the like of Aisha Jumwa. And you've had people or several people asking these questions as to whether then they will get that clean bill of health at the level of Parliament on basis of the court battles that they get to face. I have had Mheshimiwa here immediately after the formation of the cabinet. Was it immediately after the formation of the cabinet? No, I think no. It was just that day that we had, it was a day? No, it was immediately after.
It was
immediately after. And according to Mheshimiwa, then really this, some of these cases really that do not, are not declared and cannot then render these people guilty, cannot stop the members of Parliament from, giving them a clean bill of health. Perhaps the withdrawal of this case then is a plus for Mithika Linturi, but the biggest question today is that just what are the possibilities that the 22 that have been picked by President William Ruto will sail through the level of Parliament as we speak today?
100% chances that they will all sail in Parliament.
Because it's the best pick?
Practically, no. Practically, they are politically correct.
Yes.
They have a majority on the floor of the House in terms of actual numbers. And two, facing criminal charges can never be a bar to ascendancy into office or power.
Yeah.
Because Section 50, Article 50 of our Constitution provides that unless and until the state proves your guilt, every criminal walks into court with an innocent mind.
Yeah.
Aisha Jumwa, Mithika Linturi are very innocent Kenyans because contrary has not been proved. And even if the contrary has been proved, just like in the John Waluke case, where the court found him guilty, the magistrate's court, until you have exhausted all avenues of appeal, you are still innocent, and your presumption of innocence cannot be interfered with. Therefore, President William Ruto's 22 cabinet pick will sail through. And I want to say that it's a good cabinet from the look of it. It is a blend of politicians and technocrats. At least Uhuru's cabinet demonstrated to us that we do not have to put in mind this idea of technocrats being ministers, because we had technocrats who will do absolutely nothing. Technocrats who will not run ministries. In fact, ministers are policy makers. We require technocrats at the implementation level in terms of principal secretaries and other technical offices. The pick of Mithika Linturi, for example, Aisha Jumwa, Moses Kuria, they will provide the necessary political lead, political experience. And from experience, you will come to know that even in Moi's days, when we had the so-called, with respect, illiterate ministers, people were not seeing the flow of the class. The likes of the Honorable Njenga Karume, they were more effective as ministers compared to some professors we've allowed to handle the ministry. You cannot compare, for example, Moi's pick for ministers for education those days with the harm and damage that Professor Magoha has caused to the Ministry of Education. And therefore, I will support William Ruto in bringing back the idea of politicians providing the head at the ministry. Politicians tend to be more responsible, more responsive, and even in terms of interaction, Mheshimiwa will agree that people like Aisha Jumwa, Mithika Linturi will interact positively with members of parliament more than those picks from the so-called corporate or from the professionals who have no political experience.
Okay, well, interesting, Mheshimiwa. And I think then, in this case, for the first time this morning, then you get to agree with Wakili.
Of course, yes. In this particular case, Wakili is correct. Because as the law stands, that is a position. That one is clean until such a time the court will rule otherwise. That's only when you can be you can be caught by the law, and if you have not exhausted your appeal stages, you're still innocent. And that's why we have a case of Ruki, as he has cited, being convicted, served at some point in a custody, but later he was being acquitted, awaiting the exhaustment of his appeal. And in this particular case, I would say that is correct. And you cannot just block or deny such men and women of which the head of state have seen they can be able to articulate the business of his cabinet because of those gray areas. Therefore, what we should say, our laws are very clear. There are those areas where, and those countries where, in case of in a single small dot, one takes a designation. But in our laws, and the way they are crafted, they talk otherwise. And that's why we cannot take a stage of what has been happening elsewhere. We should at least address our matters according to our rules of the land. And that is what we should emphasize and be seen to support, because that's the position. And remember very well, you can even take a jail as a member of parliament, but as much as you have not exhausted more than 6 months, you still be innocent. No, you still be not able to lose a position. You still serve the jail term, come back and proceed with your business. But you can automatically lose that position in case you are being jailed beyond 6 months.
Okay, that's Moses Musalia Mudavadi will definitely go through this process.
I don't think that Musalia will go through that.
Really?
And I agree with the Mheshimiwa.
There's no point?
In fact, I'm sure he will disagree with what I'm about to say, but I agree with his position.
Yes.
Musalia Mudavadi is not a minister, a cabinet secretary within the meaning of the Constitution. Because the Constitution provides that there shall be cabinet secretaries and there shall be assigned portfolios. So Musalia Mudavadi is CS for which ministry? Musalia Mudavadi, he has been brought to the cabinet overally to take charge and ensure that the cabinet secretaries discharge their mandate in compliance with the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and he cannot go to cabinet, because when you go not to cabinet, sorry, he will go to cabinet. He cannot go to parliament for vetting, because we are vetting him for which position.
What positions? What number of cabinet positions are accorded to the president? 22,
22.
Maximum.
Yes.
Is he within this 22?
I think he is within this 22.
And then?
And remember, it is a maximum. So he can even appoint 16,
yes,
and appoint Musalia as the 17th chief minister. But he will not go through. He ought not to go through voting. But he can sit in cabinet. Right. Because whoever sits in cabinet is whoever that is invited to the cabinet by the chief executive, who is the president.
You're an insider. Let's drop that one and wait to see what happens. I'd want to look at you as an insider. This talks of a possible merger for us to get, the merging of parties that are under Kenya Kwanza. Are they true talks that are there? Is that the plan of President William Ruto?
Let me say that even before elections, you have been hearing from the horse's mouth, the then contender for the presidential list and the candidate of the UDA then, very categorical that he was not very comfortable with those correlations. But at some point, he had no choice. He have to say that and adopt, because at the end of the day, politics is perception. And it could be of a serious ruin to him if the whole fraternity of the then Oka was to move to the other Asmio side, then politically he could belong somewhere. In this case, I would think that in fact he is not alluding to persuade all these other parties to fold, so that we can have one UDA party. But I think in politics, you do what we call persuasion. I think he can persuade his partners, those who could be willing to close their shops, like MK, because I have seen Honorable Moses Kuria alluding to that direction. I think it is free, and it should be fair to every party, which you think that actually it have seen a light to join now the big party. But it cannot be a cardinal condition that if you are a member of Affiliate Kenya Kwanza, you must fold your party and join the UDA party. I think that particular room should remain. Allow those who are willing to cross over and fold their shops, let them join, because that is their will. But those who feel that actually should retain their smaller parties, let them enjoy that, because that's democracy.
Just how much of enjoyment will they have, knowing very well that the instruments power are with the person who's trying to persuade them to close their shops to join his, or to merge their shops into his, looking at the predicaments that the Jubilee merger, brought to the fore, looking at parties like Ford Kenya that have been in existence for years, one, amongst the country's oldest parties, as well as ANC that has, some years that they get to enjoy more than the UDA party. And, the question then would be, when they're closing shop to join UDA, or it is Kenya Kwanza, or what exactly is it? What sort of a danger is it for the likes of Musalia Mudavadi and the likes of Moses Wetangula? MK could easily do it, because then it is called Chama cha Kazi, is not so old, so to speak. TSP can comfortably do that, because, well, from the word go, they really were in this side of UDA before they decided to set up.
If we're taking consideration of the regions they're coming
from,
and what the region has decided, then they may not find their soft landing there.
Yes.
And therefore, folding is one. But in case of such big parties like ANC and Ford Kenya. But I think their principles are at liberty to take any side.
Can you confidently say that they are at liberty?
No, they're not at liberty. Whoever pays the piper
plays the
tune. The will of President William Ruto shall prevail. The direction that William Ruto will give will go through. If William Ruto wants one strong party under Kenya Kwanza, it shall happen. People will have no choices, because choices have consequences.
Right.
You are either with us or against us. But these will write the political epitaph of some leaders. Some will gain, like Moses Kuria. Seriously, Central Kenya is UDA. And if Moses Kuria folds his party, is just strategic entry into mainstream UDA, which is the choice of Central Kenya. If Mwangi Kiunjuri folds his TSP, is in his best interest that he joins William Ruto's party, because that is where the heart of Central Kenya is. But for my elder brother, Moses Masika Wetangula, this will be political suicide.
Yeah.
For my brother, Musalia Mudavadi, he has attempted very many suicides politically, but this will be a real one. And they should learn from one Eugene Wamalwa, when he willingly dissolved a party called New Ford Kenya. Towards the tail end of Uhuru's regime and Jubilee, he had to conflage and form a party called Democratic Action Party of Kenya. So even if Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula folded their parties today and Amason Kingi, in the end, they'll have to reinvent other political parties so as to emerge politically.
Yes.
Otherwise,
that also in relation to their regions.
To their regions.
Okay.
And they lose some clout. You know, Wetangula is a Papa wa Roma in Bungoma, because he's the chairman of the party leader of Ford Kenya. Once you fold Ford Kenya, the ghosts of Kijana Wamalwa begin haunting you politically, and you lose some support.
Right.
And to William Ruto, it will be in his best interest that some of these regions that are not 50-70% pro him, they retain the regional parties so that he can do business using those outlets, the political shops, outlets in forms of Ford Kenya, in terms of ANC, Maendeleo Democratic Party, MGPM, MGDP, of Ochieng in Ugenya. They will be very strategic political shops for William Ruto.
Right.
But if he closes those shops, he may not have a market for his political ideologies in 2027 in some of the regions in this country.
Is it so? We have seen him traversing the different parts. Okay, well, let's just talk about the recent visit to, say, Homa Bay. And, you know, pretty well welcomed. And as well, speaking of the fact, and trying to appease to the electorate down there, that, you know what, we still respect your very own, and we are here to serve you as government. But deep down, we know that the bigger picture is 2027. Do you suppose it will come a time when, you know, the spin master, that is Dr. William Samoei Ruto, will manage to traverse these areas by himself without having to get the support of these ones that Wakili speaks of?
Truly, the politics of this country took itself a notch higher, where regions feels they want to belong somewhere as a bargaining power, and that bargaining must come through a certain a political shop that at least can be able to, they can be able to align with them. And this has gone deeply to the roots of the people, the voters themselves. And this is why you realize that if it is Bungoma and Trans Nzoia, the history is very clear that sometimes they don't go the same way with the Kakamega and the other side down there.
Western,
They are totally two different. They are in one region, but they speak differently. This is because you have those political managers who takes control of certain sides of a region. I would propose that if need be, then the best way to go about it is to the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and Honorable Wetangula sit and try, because at least for the first time they have spoke one language and they have gone one direction. This tells me that they can even easily convince their political parties memberships and their political parties secretariats and form one strong party of Western region. So that at least they have one strong, solid bargaining power instead of having two, 3, 4 separate small parties. That could be okay. And then that new party then can become a bargaining or a preparing bargaining machine for Western Kenya. That will work very well. But if at some point they think they will take an idea of folding their parties, they may not achieve very well. Because you realize this party, which came very lately, the DAP, became very popular. And you can't imagine how it became so popular. But remember, it took 2 senior members of that party to casualty. Its chairman and secretary. Why? Because the same members who are in the stronghold or the king master of the region. And that's how they found themselves displaced.
Delicate situation.
But I think those small fights within the council should end, and at least they have one strong party which can now have one serious bargain. And I think that could be the right direction of Western region or on other regions that feels they have some small parties, but they are in support of a particular party. In the matter to do with like Eastern Kamba area, where we have Mutua and we have the former governor of Makueni. It's of important. Instead of having those small parties, why can't they merge as an eastern side, and then have one strong bloc? Then they can have strong bargain, even going forward. But once you have very small atoms, it tells you that that will come with 2 or 3 members, the other one will come with 2 or 3 members, and negotiations becomes hard. Because if you say you must fulfill the reward Makueni governor, and then you reward the Mutuas and somebody else, it is not easy. But when it is a region, then it also becomes also smart and negotiable. Because you can negotiate as a region, and that can work very well. I think I concur with Wakili that it can be suicidal to some of those shops coming to closer because already that is already something that has gone down to the roots, and it has interest to the interest of the voters, and they want to feel, yes, we have our baby, which at least we support, and then through this particular master, we are ready to be somewhere. And this is a negotiating machine. It has gone through, because today 40 Kenya will celebrate that they have their fish. And the ANC will celebrate. They will say, we have also our fish. But going forward, in future, I think it's of important to at least bring the community together. And one strong bloc, which can negotiate better.
Well put. Wakili, you know, your name betrays you, unless, and I mean I stand corrected, that perhaps you hail from the Western region, and therefore I hope that someday I'll engage you on this politics of the Mulembe nation and what then the future holds for them. But as of now, time is extremely out of our side, and therefore, cutting to the chase, I'll allow you 1 minute to give us your parting shots.
Very well. Today we shall all be focused on the National Assembly and be focused on the decision of Moses Masika Wetangula. He has a sacred assignment in protection of the Constitution and advancement of the rule of law. Whichever outcome, we shall be here to talk about it. And we hope that you'll make the best decision in the circumstances, a decision that will unite Parliament, a decision that will make Parliament more functional. And to the distinguished members of Parliament, we have a nation to protect. Whichever way this decision goes, we have to move forward and ensure that we facilitate the executive to start implementing the manifesto that they give to Kenyans.
Well put. Mheshimiwa.
Kenya has to move on. Whether there is a quagmire or not, there has to be a way to clear the quagmire. And therefore, it is a duty for Kenyans, because this has been a big question on how this matter or this monster is going to be handled. But I would like Kenyans to rest and just leave the house to take its business. And that will be a business that will be concluded today. Either way, I am sure, not after every decision, it must not please everybody, because these are two sides of the house. And one side has to have their way, and the other one have to have their say.
Well put, Honourable Member of Parliament of Embakasi North. That is Mheshimiwa James Gakuya, as well as Advocate of the High Court, Ken Echesa. Thank you so much for speaking to us, gentlemen. We close this one at that, a quiet and informative conversation right there. And I'm sure then it takes some of these points and messages home, as we hope that the right ears then get to listen to this. Indeed, eyes on the National Assembly, and most importantly on the Speaker of the National Assembly, that is Moses Masika Wetangula. Will definitely be here to expound some more on that tomorrow and many days to come. We close this session And not in totality, we definitely are crossing over to a different conversation altogether, but then in relation to church and politics and just what then these bodies are doing to make sure that we have that sanity and most importantly have a watchdog as pertaining to the question of politics, because evidently, as you can see, if politicians are let, they can really drive the nation to directions that are good or bad, Mheshimiwa? Definitely bad most of the times.
But surely it's human.
It is
which makes correction.
Yeah.
And therefore, in case of anything,
yes,
it's only the same men and women which can correct.
And therefore, the role of the media, the role of the church, very, very important in this conversation. So after this break, we come to that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
As a government-sponsored student, joining Mount Kenya University was the best decision I ever made.
With over